And look no further than the government now doing a probe into Nike for systemic discrimination against white people.
You need to sit down and listen to me very carefully, because the walls are finally closing in on the biggest apparel company in the world. For months, we have been asking the same question over and over again. Why has Nike been hiding Caitlin Clark? Why did they sign the most marketable athlete on the planet to a $28 million deal only to put her on the shelf? Well, today, we finally have the answer, and it is not incompetence. It is something much darker and much more calculated. Welcome back to the channel, where we expose the truth that the corporate media is terrified to touch. Today, we are breaking down the bombshell news that Nike is facing a federal probe for systemic discrimination against white people, and how this investigation explains exactly why they tried to sabotage the launch of Caitlin Clark's brand.
Four-time MVP, Rhodes. Yeah, don't draw flies to shit. I mean, let's be honest. Let's keep it real here. That's what we do on this channel. Not drawing nothing. Not drawing a view to nothing. Got a full-blown marketing campaign. Didn't somebody involving the Obamas actually direct one of those commercials where they're doing that ridiculous chant? You want to, bam, hit yourself right in the eye with something?
Let me start with the hard news, because this is not a conspiracy theory. This is a legal reality. The U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, or the EEOC, has filed an enforcement action against Nike to force them to turn over information regarding their diversity, equity, and inclusion program. The agency alleges that the sneaker giant discriminated against white employees, including passing them over for promotions, choosing them for layoffs, and failing to select them for leadership development programs. This is a federal agency stepping in and saying, we have reason to believe you are running an anti-white agenda inside your corporate headquarters. Now think about what that means for the decision makers at Nike. These are the people deciding who gets the commercials, who gets the shoes, and who gets the marketing push. If the culture inside Nike is so toxic that the federal government has to get involved, do you really think that did not bleed over into how they treated Caitlin Clark? Four-time MVP A'ja Wilson? Yeah, do not draw flies to, let me be honest, let me keep it real here. That is what we do on this channel, not drawing nothing, not drawing a view to nothing.
Out and said, combined with the fact that all of a sudden you had a bunch of pissed off WNBA players because they wasn't getting the love that Caitlin Clark was getting from her racist ass fans. And of course, no, they're not racist, but that's what they labeled. Let's keep it real. We all remember the war that was launched onto Caitlin Clark fans, Indiana Fever fans, by some in the media and by players. And I think Nike was
got a full-blown marketing campaign. Did not somebody involving the Obamas actually direct one of those commercials where they are doing that ridiculous chant, you wanna bam, hit yourself right in the eye with something? We have to look at the timeline because it is damning. Right before Caitlin Clark entered the league, A'ja Wilson gave an interview to the Associated Press where she made it very clear that she believes race is the primary factor in marketability. She said, it really is about black and white because you can be top-notch as a black woman, but people do not see it as marketable. She said it boils her blood when people say it is not about race. Well, guess who was listening? Nike was listening. And right as Caitlin Clark was about to take over the world, Nike decided to pivot. Instead of riding the Caitlin Clark wave, they decided to force-feed us A'ja Wilson commercials. We saw them during every NBA game. We saw them during NFL games. We saw them everywhere. And let me be honest, nobody cares. The host of the video puts it brutally but accurately when he says those commercials do not draw flies to honey. They poured millions of dollars into marketing an athlete who does not move the needle, while the actual needle mover, Caitlin Clark, was left with nothing. No commercials, no shoe, just silence. This brings us to the core of the issue. The host of the video speculates that Nike got scared.
They saw the narrative building in the media that Caitlin Clark fans were racist. They saw the jealousy from the WNBA veterans, and they saw the agenda-driven commentary that said pushing a white girl would be bad for the culture. So what did they do? They said, "Oh, this situation is too hot. We cannot market the straight white girl right now." Think about how insane that is from a business perspective. You have the female Michael Jordan in your lap. You have a player who is selling out arenas. You have a player who is driving TV ratings up 400%, and you refuse to market her because you are afraid of the woke mob on Twitter. That is corporate malpractice of the highest order. But it makes perfect sense if the internal culture at Nike is as discriminatory as the feds are alleging. For over a year, we have been asking, where is the shoe? We were told it takes time to develop a signature shoe. We were told they wanted to get it right, but that was a lie. Look at how fast they moved for other athletes.
Look at how fast they moved for Victor Wembanyama. Look at how fast they announced A'ja Wilson's shoe the second she started complaining. The delay with Caitlin Clark was not a manufacturing issue, it was a political issue. Nike did not want to release her shoe in the middle of a race war that they helped create. They wanted to wait until the heat died down. They wanted to appease the A'ja Wilsons of the world first. They sacrificed profit for politics, and now they are paying the price. Their stock is down, their reputation is in the toilet, and the most loyal fan base in sports, the Caitlin Clark Army, is looking at other brands like, maybe we should have gone with Adidas. The federal probe is specifically looking at how Nike tracked and used employee race and ethnicity data to make decisions. If they were using race to decide who gets promoted in the office, you better believe they were using race to decide who gets the marketing budget. This explains why we saw such a disjointed and awkward rollout for Caitlin. Half the people in the building probably wanted to push her to the moon because they like making money. But the other half, the DEI hires, the people obsessed with the agenda, were likely fighting tooth and nail to hold her back, to ensure equity for the other players. Equity, in their minds, does not mean equal opportunity, it means equal outcome. And you cannot have equal outcome when one player is a supernova and everyone else is a flashlight. And combine that with the fact that all of a sudden you had a bunch of pissed-off WNBA players because they were not getting the love that Caitlin Clark was getting from her racist fans. And of course, no, they are not racist, but that is what they labeled them. Let me keep it real. We all remember the war that was launched onto Caitlin Clark fans, Indiana Fever fans, by some in the media and by players, and I think Nike was watching that. Let me talk about the money, because ultimately, money talks. Nike is a publicly traded company. They have a fiduciary duty to their shareholders to make as much money as possible. By suppressing Caitlin Clark, they literally burned money. Imagine if they had a Caitlin Clark signature shoe ready for her rookie season. Imagine if they had a massive commercial campaign ready for the playoffs. They would have sold billions of dollars worth of merchandise. Instead, they let the hype cycle pass them by. They let the narrative become toxic, and they let competitors get a foothold. This is what happens when you let ideology run your business instead of meritocracy. You go broke, or at least you lose a lot of value. And the shareholders should be furious. They should be launching their own lawsuits against the board of directors for failing to capitalize on the biggest sports asset of the 21st century. It is rare, extremely rare, for the EEOC to file an enforcement action against a company like Nike. Usually, these things are settled quietly behind closed doors. The fact that they filed a lawsuit in federal court means Nike is stonewalling. They are refusing to hand over the data. Why would they refuse if they have nothing to hide? They would just give the government the documents. The fact that they are fighting this so hard suggests that the data is damning. It suggests that there is a paper trail proving systemic discrimination against white employees, and by extension, a bias against white athletes who do not fit the victim narrative that Nike loves to sell. Remember, this is the company of Colin Kaepernick. This is the company that built its modern brand on social justice. Well, now the chickens are coming home to roost.
Imagine if the roles were reversed. Imagine if a black athlete had the impact of Caitlin Clark. Imagine if she broke every record, sold out every arena, and drove ratings through the roof, and Nike refused to market her. There would be protests in the streets. There would be boycotts. CNN would be running 24-hour coverage on the racism at Nike. But because it is Caitlin Clark, because she is white and from Iowa, the media is silent. Nobody is calling it racism except for the independent creators and now, apparently, the federal government. This double standard is exhausting, and people are waking up to it. They are tired of being told that they are racist for supporting a white athlete. They are tired of seeing meritocracy destroyed in the name of diversity, and they are voting with their wallets.
So where does Nike go from here? They're in a lose-lose situation. If they pivot now and go all in on Caitlin Clark, they will be accused of pandering by the woke mob. If they continue to suppress her, they will lose the biggest market share in sports and face the wrath of the federal government. They have painted themselves into a corner with their own ideology. And the saddest part is that Caitlin Clark is caught in the middle. She just wants to play basketball. She just wants to sell shoes to kids who look up to her. But instead, she has become a pawn in a massive culture war that is tearing the sports world apart. She deserves better. Her fans deserve better. And honestly, the sport of basketball deserves better. This should be a wake-up call to every other brand in America. Get woke, go broke is not just a slogan, it is a reality. When you alienate half your customer base to appease a small group of activists on Twitter, you destroy your brand value. Nike used to be the gold standard of cool. Now they are seen as a political organization that sells shoes on the side. Adidas, Under Armour, New Balance, they're all watching this and they are licking their chops. If Nike fumbles the Caitlin Clark bag completely, if they mess up her shoe launch, if they continue to treat her like a second-class citizen, she can and she should walk away. Imagine Caitlin Clark at Under Armour alongside Steph Curry. Imagine her at New Balance with Kawhi Leonard. It would be the end of Nike's dominance in the women's game, and they would have nobody to blame but themselves. I want to know what you guys think. Do you believe Nike intentionally held back Caitlin Clark because of her race? Do you think the federal probe will uncover a smoking gun? And will you be buying the Caitlin Clark Nike shoe when it finally comes out? Or has Nike lost your business forever? Sound off in the comments below because I know you have opinions on this. Make sure you like this video so the algorithm pushes the truth out to more people. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already and hit that notification bell because as this federal investigation unfolds, we will be right here covering every single update. Thanks for watching, and remember, the truth always comes out in the end. The federal government is investigating Nike for systemic discrimination against white people, and that is not hyperbole. That is what the EEOC filing alleges. They are looking at how Nike used race data to make employment decisions, promotions, layoffs, leadership programs, all of it. And if they were doing that in the office, you better believe it affected who got marketing dollars, who got commercials, who got pushed to the front. Caitlin Clark, the most marketable athlete on the planet, got shelved, while A'ja Wilson, who does not move the needle, got a full marketing blitz. That is not a coincidence, that is a pattern, and the federal government is now investigating that pattern. Nike made a business decision to sacrifice billions of dollars in potential revenue to appease activists, and now they are facing the consequences. Their stock is down, their reputation is damaged, and the Caitlin Clark army is looking elsewhere for their next sneaker purchase. This is what happens when ideology trumps meritocracy, when you let Twitter mobs run your business strategy instead of data and sales figures. Nike could have owned the women's basketball market for the next decade. They could have made Caitlin Clark the face of their brand globally. Instead, they hid her, they suppressed her, they let the hype cycle die, and they let competitors gain ground. And now the federal government is asking questions about why that happened and whether race played a factor in those decisions. The shareholders should be livid, the board should be held accountable, and Caitlin Clark should be exploring every option available to her. Because if Nike continues down this path,
If they continue to treat her like a second-tier athlete when she is clearly the biggest star in the sport, she should take her talent elsewhere. Under Armour, Adidas, New Balance, any of them would kill to have her, and any of them would treat her like the generational talent she is, instead of a political problem to be managed. And that is the truth Nike does not want you to hear, but the federal investigation is going to force them to confront it, whether they like it or not.